Robert Spencer recently wrote about a feel-good moment which involved Ilhan Omar being booed while she was on stage. What did you think of that?
I think that's great. We know that Omar's popularity within the Somali Muslim community is shaky. She's very much a woke icon, but obviously, if you're in the Islamic community and you're seeing somebody who is married to a white man, granted he converted to Islam and everything, but she cheated on her husband with him. Uh, and her lifestyle is no, there's really kind of a double standard within obviously various Muslim communities about what women can do and men can do. Men can marry multiple wives, men can cheat on their wives, and it's okay under Islamic law. Women doing that is very much not okay. And even though Ilhan Omar obviously very much pushes Islamist agendas, she's quite useful to the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist groups within the actual community, which is very traditional. There's a good deal of discomfort, which has been discussed in the past. They don't like her as a representative. They don't like the fact that she is the most prominent Somali in American life. And there are also, old country tensions with her family, with the various things going on in the past. This has been leaked. Various conservative researchers and journalists have written about this. But it's not surprising that she was booed. It's not surprising that they are not happy with her and that they do not like her. Now, we'll emphasize that a man in the same position would be able to get away with most of the things that she did. But the fact that she's a woman, the fact that Islamic cultures really are uncomfortable with women unless they follow very specific rules, well, they provide men with a lot more latitude, is definitely a factor here.
But Daniel, the key here is, thank you so much for that. The key is some of us hearing this would go, oh, let's support her, a woman, and for equality and freedom against discrimination. But that's not the case, because in her stances and what she pushes for, in the end, she's for Sharia law. So she supports a way of life. She supports a law that if it was imposed, if she was in Iran, if she was in Saudi Arabia, if she was in Pakistan, she could very well be executed for some of the ways that she lives, right?
In her own home country, without a good deal of influence, she would already be most likely dead. She's alive and she's wealthy and prosperous because of the United States, because we don't have Sharia law. But also within Islam, no secret that the ruling class lives very differently than everybody else. They impose Sharia law, but they don't actually abide in their personal lives. Sharia law is brutal, it is ruthless, it is quite abusive, but also the people who impose it do not actually live by it. We see this in Iran, we see this in Saudi Arabia, we see this in Qatar, we see this throughout the Muslim world. There is absolute hypocrisy, and Ilhan Omar is obviously very much part of that hypocrisy. She wants Sharia law, she claims to believe in all this stuff, yet she refuses to live by it. She took up with another man. She cheated on her husband, allegedly. Her father apparently just really did not want to see her on his deathbed. Yet she is happy enough to be able to live this way because the United States allows her to live it, yet she would like to destroy the United States. So that part is not unusual. We've seen this with any number of Islamist leaders. We've seen this with Tariq Ramadan. We've seen this with any number of care figures who were caught in all sorts of sexual misconduct. But Islam really allows and protects for a lot of sexual misconduct by men. It is much less forgiving and accommodating of sexual misconduct by women. So paradoxically, Ilhan Omar claims to be a feminist, yet she also claims to be for Sharia law. She claims that that Islamic law and Sharia law and that all this entire infrastructure can be reconciled with feminism and woke ideas. Yet, of course, it cannot. And the booing is really evidence that the rank and file, much of her own community, does not believe that these two things can be reconciled and very much rejects her hypocrisy and her posturing.
So she wants to destroy the United States, wants to impose Sharia, support Sharia, but the only reason she's alive is because she's in the United States and Sharia is not implemented. This is, but as you say, this is very, very typical of, leaders and members of Sharia, and of course, leaders and members of many totalitarian regimes in terms of what they support.
It's difficult enough to know how many BMWs I see with Bernie stickers on them. If Bernie Sanders actually were in power and got his way, there would be no BMWs, there would be no mansions. none of these people would have the money that they now have. So this is typical of the left. You have upper class people who support this, and yet it would absolutely destroy them if it came into being.